Thank you for attending this conference. You will maybe hear that I have a strange accent. Actually, it's French, but no, maybe you're used to it. So my name is Dudek Sebastian. I work for the SIMUSIM company. In the SIMUSIM company, we're doing a lot of stuff like event tests, red team audits, research, and also a lot of IRID like radio. I'm very interested about radio stuff and so on. What I like in radio is also to confront the practice, the theory of the versus the practice. Also, it's my first time in Troopers, so I think I will enjoy also the event. I really enjoy the event. So let's begin. For the first moments, we will talk about a few reminders. The context we will use is the interception of mobile devices. So I will introduce these things first. And after that, I will talk about our contribution. That means our feedbacks while doing interception techniques while attacking the mobile devices like IoT devices, connected cars, intercoms, and so on. And also present the tools we made to do that in practice. That means that you have to imagine that during our test, sometimes we have physical access on the device, sometimes not. So that's why we have developed tools like Modmob and Modmob. And also, I will also show you some tricks, maybe that you know some of them, and some other attacks. And also, if you're attending the presentation, the conference TelcoSec Day tomorrow, you will see me again, and there I will talk about the internals of Modmob tools, updates, and so on. It will be more about the internals, but you will see pretty much of it today also. So let's begin. Today, a mobile network. You have a lot of technology. You have 2G, 3G, 4G. It begins with 1G, and it evolved a lot. And during the evolution, also industry thought about how to exploit the mobile networks to produce applications like intercoms, delivery pickup station, electric counter, cameras, and so on, connected cars. And in the SIMUSIM company, we are very interested about how to hack this kind of device with or without having physical access to those device. So just to present you a classic architecture about this kind of device, here is a schema of the network architecture that you can have in the intercoms. And here you can see that the resident phone is able to open the door just by using the mobile network, and the intercom is managed with a backend server. That is also interesting to know, because if you know, for example, the backend server, any interesting address, the endpoints that are used by the intercom, you can maybe try to open not just one intercom, but also all the intercoms in the same time. So in this architecture, you have a lot of vectors. You have the intercom that you can trap within your fake base station, but also you have also hidden endpoints that are very interesting to attacks. In 5G, there will be a lot of interesting stuff also, because in 5G, you have a concept that is called V2X. V2X, does someone knows it or not? The V2X, for people who doesn't know this concept, is in the automotive industry. We have V2G, we have a lot of things, but the CV2X is used to connect a car on the infrastructure, on a person, on, I don't know, maybe on a baby. So this is very crazy, because in this concept, in this feature, you don't know how the authentication is made between the infrastructure that is used to communicate with the car, because it's very difficult to provide any PKI with this within this architecture. So we didn't dive into this subject exactly, but I just put the slide because it is a very interesting subject, and it will come with the time when the 5G will be developed in Europe. So keep in mind that this technology could be very interesting to do research on this technology. On mobiles, there is a lot of technology. This technology, the 2G, 3G, or 4G, are accessible with open tools like OpenBTS or Smokeon BTS. You have Yet BTS, Open UMTS. You have maybe learned about it before. A lot of publication also exist about the weaknesses of on the A51 and A52 also. In GPRS, 3G and 4G, normally you have stronger algorithms that are used. But also, you have to know that in 3G, there is also a bypass way, because if you, for example, you have to test a device that is using 3G, you can put your SIM cards on only on the SIM mode. I mean, disabling the USIM mode to just allow the SIM mode to be able to bypass the mutual authentication and use, for example, the Open BTS UMTS software, for example, because Open BTS UMTS doesn't implement the ciphering algorithm, the ciphering features to authenticate and also to encrypt the communication. But as you can see, the better way for us, if we don't have the access, the physical access to the device, the best option for us is to trap the device to 2G. I mean that, if, for example, if the client or the target doesn't allow you to open the device and test it, try to reach the endpoint, try to dump the device and locate the endpoints, and after that attack the endpoints, you can try to force the device to the 2G network, and after that try to see how it communicates with this backend server and so on. There is also an exception that I put also at the bottom of the slide, is that when sometimes baseband are implemented by a lot of people, and also people don't use the 3GPP as a reference, but the implementation is not the same for all baseband. You have Qualcomm, you have now the Shannon also baseband, you have a MediaTek baseband, and you have other basebands, and all the basebands have their own implementation, and some of the baseband, and for some version, we don't know why, some version and some baseband can also drop the mutual authentication between the eNodeB and the mobile device. That means that if, for example, and someone test a lot of baseband, they just they just saw that some baseband didn't perform the mutual authentication at all. So you can, for example, with a fake 4G station, you could trap a device without doing the mutual authentication. That means that you can trap the device and after that attack it. What is interesting for our purpose is that most of the device, IoT device that use the mobile network, use IP, and so they exchange data between the backends and the device. And this is very interesting because after that, when we are able to trap the device, we're able to see the HTTP connection, TCP connection, and so on. Here are the list. I will not enumerate all of that, but here's the list of every device that you can use to set up a fake base station, eNodeB, NodeB, USRP, bladeRF, LimeSDR, and so on. Personally, I use the bladeRF one because it's cheap, but it's also well maintained. But I will suggest that it was the case some months ago. I was also testing the XTRX. That is very interesting because it's based on the same socks of LimeSDR, And with that, LabSDR allows you also to run a fake base station, SRS LT also. And XTRX, it's you were seeing at the well, in the last slides. It's just a very small MPCAE card that you can plug in your computer if your computer supports this interface. Or you can also buy other device like API2, or you have also the PC engines routers that you can buy. You will see that on our slide. Let's move on. Also, you have alternatives to Osmo BTS and so on. You have Sysmo BTS from Sysmocom. You have also the femtocells of Sysmo BTS, which is interesting if you're working on the IoT 4G stacks, is to buy the Amarisoft LTE or the commercial version of SRS LTE, because the two of them only implements the CAT NB1 stack, which is used on IoT. And this stacks, you don't find it on open solutions. And that's why sometimes if you're working on IoT stuff and want to work especially in 4G, on 4G stacks, you will not be able, for example, to work on this device if you're working with SRS LTE, for example. So it's coming with a price, but also, which is great with Amarisoft, is that Amarisoft provides a lot of good stacks, but also a great core network that is really relevant for us. So, as I said, my choice, it's the cheapest one sometimes. It's working with the bladeRF. You can also, for like almost €100, have also your fake network, BTS network. For our purpose, so we set up also the GPRS to be able to communicate with data, and also set up the GGSN to do all the routing. After that, also we do the repeatable post-routing stuff and forwarding IP to be able to let the internet works on our setup, and which is this is an indicator. The icon with G is the indicator that you have a working setup in GPRS. So when you get that, you can start to perform your attack. But there is a problem that we have to resolve, is how to attract our mobile devices. So let's see how. We know that's public. Mobile devices always look for the better reception. Also, mobile devices use multiple stacks. In some cases, for IoT stuff like that use the LTE stack, it will be an exception. That's some IoT device only supports one stack, but mostly cars, connected cars, intercoms, and so on, always have multiple stacks to be able to communicate with a backend server. Because if you imagine that, for example, an intercom, and the connected intercom always has to communicate with the backend server. If it doesn't work, it cannot open the door, for example, remotely. So this is not good for the company who makes this kind of device. So mostly IoT devices support multiple stacks, but yeah, I'm agree. There's some exceptions. So for our purpose, for attractions, I will talk shortly about the custom USIM cards, Faraday shield isolation. But the most important and the most relevant way also is the downgrade attack, because as I said, sometimes you don't have access, physical access, and you want the device to be attracted to your fake base station. So let's begin with the first method to attract. So for our purpose, I use the Sysmo USIM card, but also you have Chinese SIM card that you can program completely. I mean, completely. You can set up all the secrets you want on the SIM card. The problem also you have to be aware is that the device do some auto-pinning stuff. I mean, it's auto type the pin codes in the SIM card. Sometimes you can screw up your SIM card. You have to reprogram it. But if you use for example, your provider SIM card instead, sometimes you can block your SIM card because of that. So you have to be cautious about that. And in USIM, the SISMO USIM cards, you can set up all the secrets like the KI, the operator variant algorithm, and the MCC to be to act like a legit base station. That's the codes that's the command to do that. And also here's an example of how to use the SIMtrace. The SIMtrace is a very old device that is used to perform a man in the middle between the SIM card and the mobile equipment, like for example the intercom, for example. And in this example, the intercom at boot time will auto-type the pin code, so I will sniff it, and after that I get it, and I can reprogram the SIM card with the pin code that is used for the intercom, and like that I can put my SIM card, my fixed SIM card, and do the auto attach to my setup. Faraday cage. Okay. When I started in my company wanted to buy a very cumbersome Faraday cage, and for our tests, it's a very good things to perform a lot of tests. It's also a good thing to test mobile devices, but everything depends on every several element like frequency, wavelength, and so on. And also, there is also a very cheap way to do a Faraday cage, like using a cage with meshes. But the problem is that when you have multiple stacks, mobile stacks, you have also a lot of frequencies, and you are not sure that the meshes, the size of your meshes are quite good to be able to also isolate from to a 3G, 4G, and so on, the targeted frequencies. So the best one is maybe do your own shielding box, and for the shielding box, I use, for example, the 1 kilogram M&M's box, which is pretty good because it's thin enough. Okay, it's thin, maybe it's thin, but it's quite enough to attenuate the signal to what I want. It means with that, I'm able, in Paris, I'm able to isolate the device I want to isolate. And how I can do that? It's pretty simple. I see some people doing pictures. How I do that? I just I extend the antenna of the device, and I put everything in the box, and after that I just for a full not a full aluminum tape, but I'm just how to say it? I'm gluing an aluminum tape to just fill the holes that can be made in the box. I mean that I had to do some holes, and I have to also fill the holes with the tape. And the metal, the aluminum foil tape can be bought in Amazon for not much, like for €5 or less. I don't know, but it's very cheap. So if you want some elements and you have some foil tapes, you can create your own Faraday cage. So it's very cheap cage. Doesn't work when the base station is very close to your device, because always you have to know that everything depends on the finesse of the cage. But for a lot of purposes, it works. And the third methods, it's power on, because yeah, maybe you have heard a lot about Gemini attacks and so on, but we have also developed some tools to perform that automatically, and I will present you the methods. But first, state of the art, we have a lot of tools that provide us information about the cells, not in real life, but in early mapped methods with GSM map, OpenCell ID. This is not real life, but you can have some information about the cells, but not so much, because you don't have precise information, like for example the used frequency. So and the used frequency, the used RFCN, ERFCN, and URFCN are not provided in these kind of services. So for that, you can also get some live scanning tools. And about live scanning tools, you have GAMU with the Nokia, for example. You can use the software GAMU with the Nokia 3310 exactly, or Osmocom BB with the Cellog application. For 3G, 4G, there is just some tricks that during our pen test I have also practiced, and we discover how to automate this. There is also a snitch application that we can use to get this information, but the problem is that we wanted to perform automatically the monitoring and also the jamming attack. So it was not very flexible, but we could also work with that solution to perform the first step, which is the monitoring step, and after that the jamming session. Other possible methods are the following. We can also monitor with software-defined radio, exposed diagnostic interfaces, or RI from Android that provide you a very abstracted data from the phone, but enough to give you the information about the frequency that are used, the cell ID, and so on. Also, in software radio, we have open techniques using AirProp for GSM, Open LTE, SRS LTE, but nothing in 3G. About the exposed JAG interface, you have also tools that you can use, like the PCNJ RPD2, but it's very expensive. Well, it's not very expensive, like it's almost expensive, but you can do it cheaper using an adapter with a USIM slot. About area, you have to know that vendors provide you also some ways to communicate with the interface of your modem. Your modem exposes many interfaces like the JAG, the AT-AT faces. So here are some libraries that are now in use by the vendors, like the Classic IT, QEMU for Qualcomm, Samsung DPC protocol, and so on. But what I use is, it's more, it's a lazy way, but I use the service mode. That's I don't know if you have already access to your service modes with your application with your smartphone, but with your smartphone you can, for example, type the code 0011 secret code, and this code provides you a service mode screen that gives you information about the band which is used, at which layer we are, which per element, which cell ID, and also the interesting information, the RX, TX, and so on. You can also have some information about RSSI, and that's in every stacks. That means in GSM, 3G, and 3G, in 4G. So why not use that information to do our monitoring? It is very cheap. So what we do, we call the 0011, and we use the mechanism from service modes to get the information about those cells. But there's few constraints to resolve because when we working with the service mode, we actually show the current cell information we are connected on. So that means, for example, if we are connected to the element 208.11, we are connected to one cell ID, and you just have the information about one cell ID. So we have to resolve these constraints. We have also to resolve the constraint about the SIM card, because you think that using your SIM cards with your operators will give you only the access of cell IDs dedicated to you providers. This is not true, and I will show you why. because there is a camping concept, which is also written in 3GPP. That means that, okay, the MS is always looking for the best cells, the most satisfying cells. But when you try to register to one operators that do not belong to you, you can comp on its cells. You can get some information about that. Baseband try to authenticate to the network. The network rejects you, so you go to the other, not operators, but the other cells that belongs to this operator, and you enumerate all the operators, all the sales operators, just trying to register to this operator. And after that, you are rejected from all the operators. So you can, after that, try to reach another operators and do the same methods again to get all the lists, all the information, and all the cells you want to target. It was verified through JAG and service mode. And also to do that automatically, because okay, we can do that manually. We're using all the app, like for example, select the operator, and after that going to service mode and after getting all the information. But you know, we are a bit lazy, so we don't want to do that. We use the AT commands, like the set network type that we can set up to tell the baseband that we want only to communicate in GSM, only in 3G, only in 4G, or every stack. We can use also the AT cops command to enumerate out all the operators. So for example, if I'm in Germany and I don't know the operator's code, I can enumerate it, but also I can also get the list on internet. And here is the monster we develop, and the monster we develop is like we have one computer that is communicating with the smartphone, and the smartphone is using some methods like the Android. It can use also the dev router, iOS, and so on. We didn't develop also the methods for iOS, but if someone wants to develop it, you're welcome, because I don't have any iOS at home. But for Android, we have many methods like Samsung, ADB share. We have also the JAG method that we can use to get the information. So with Modmob, we have many methods to get the information about the cells. And that's good because we want to be as much precise as we want. But if we just have, for example, a Samsung phone, we can do that. So it just means that you don't need expensive devices, the expensive product to do that. You just need one phone, and that's all. And so here is an example of how to use Modmob. So as you can see, what I was using is just a Samsung phone. And the Samsung phone, I'm telling where is the Android SDK path. I want to use the service mode method. And what the tool does is it goes to the service mode way, reach some information about the current operator, list the operators, available operators, and after that, try to reach all the operators. And like that, you have to wait a little, but you can wait like for 10 minutes and get a complete list of all the operators. It does a lot of, not fusing, but a lot of brute force, hit brute force, all the PLMN, but also all the stacks and so on. And also it continues, and sometimes continuing, he can also find another cells that he didn't saw before. So in approximately 10 minutes, you have all the information, all needed information, because we use that in production, like for example in pen test and red teams, to get into premises. After that, Modmob gives you a JSON file that you can use against a tool, a jamming tool that we will present. And in the JSON, you have specific information about which element, which FCN, for example, if it's 2G, DCID, and so on. So you can use that information to target the cells you want to jam. After that, we have to come with the jamming part. Jamming, you can choose, for example, the cheap jamming tools that you can find in Amazon, eBay, or any other shops. Also, a Chinese website that provides you very cheap jammers. The problem with the jammers is that the signal is very poor, and we want also be able to adjust the amplitude of the signal. So it's not a solution for us. We have also desktop jammers, and desktop jammers are very cumbersome. Imagine that you have to transport it in your bag. It's like not practical. So what we have imagined is like there was some papers about the smart jamming, but no proof of concept. So what we have done is that we have done a pretty cheap poke of the concept, and we have developed it in the name of Modmob. And Modmob works as follows. So first, we have to get a list of the cells we want to jam. So we use Modmob. After that, we target the operators that we want to jam. For example, in France, we have Orange that is used a lot in IoT stuff. So, for example, we just target Orange, and after that, with those targets, we can start to jam. And how to do this, we will show you. But also, be cautious because it's forbidden. Also, I know that maybe I will have this question after, so I prefer to put this slide just in case. But if you want to try it, with a specific area. So you have to adjust the amplitude of the signal and so on, and also to target a specific operator, a specific cell, and at a specific range to not screw all the signal around. So just remind that it's forbidden and you have to be cautious about that. Jamming with Modmob looks as follows. So we have developed very simple blocks with a GNU radio, and Modmob can be used with XTRX, with bladeRF, with USRP, with all the device that works in SDR. And how? Because you just have to. We don't see it here. I see. You see here. We have Osmocom sync. The sync can be replaced with the sync for LimeSDR, for USRP, and so on. So it's very modular. Well, what we provide you is only the schema block that you can after that just to adjust for your equipment. It's very easy, and in this schema we use a XML RPC server that is used to get the JSON file. We provide to the server the JSON file that contains all the frequency to jam, and after that you can jam specific frequency and see after that with the bladeRF on the other side if the device gets attracted or not. So now the capturing mobile data parts. So we have done all the things. We could also trap the device. So what we can find, for example, in a famous intercom in France, is when the intercom is trapped in our fake GPRS base station, we can see that we provide him an IP address, and with this IP address we can try to scan it. We can maybe guess some service that exposed service we can exploit, but we can also with Wireshark try to see the data that are exchanged between the backend server and the device. And some interesting things happens is that you have, for example, the APN that gives you the APN address that you can use to connect to the backend server, but also to the virtual network. And with that information, if you are able to get the SIM cards of the device, the provided SIM card of the device, plug it in your phone or your computer, and provide the right APN, you are able to get into the virtual network of the device used, and after that also reach the other intercom that are connected to the virtual network. That is very interesting. Also the servers, And some of the servers that I saw some old Apache servers with a Tomcat manager exposed. So it could be a very interesting target. And here, what we see, so we see for the intercom that the intercom has a client that communicates with 2 IP addresses, and so we can also, doing our inspection, try to reach the right server with the provided data. We see that the data is not junk, but looks encoded maybe. So first, what we have done, we just replay the data and see that it provides you some dates, some synchronization dates on this port, and that was the only thing that was provided in this port. But in these other ports, and we saw also that some information about the ID of the intercom was provided. That means that the device didn't do any authentication stuff. It does just identification. So for us, it can be easy to just identify as a legit device. And after that, we reach the backend and try to get some data or try to inject some data. Then in the other port, we see some encoded data. So we try also to see what is the entropy of the data, and the data looks a bit encrypted. So to see what is exchanged, we have to go deeper. We have to go in the hardware way. So to do that, we see that after. But let's speak about OpenBTS, UMTS. In OpenBTS UMTS, I told you about the USIM cards with only SIM mode. This is also the command that you can use to put your SIM tool to SIM mode. And with that, you can, after that, plug the device to the OpenBTS UMTS. You have also alternative stacks like CMU 2000 and also vulnerable custom femtocell provided by Sysmocom. For LTE interception, you have free and stable stacks like SRS LTE, but you have to know that you need a custom SIM card to configure all the information. I mean, the RUN, the XRS, the ORTON, the CASME keys, and then provide it in the user DB to then be able to attract the device to your base station. So this is the way, and you can only do that if your device only have LTE stack. You are only able to, you need a physical access to configure the SIM card and provide the SIM card that could be able to connect to the LTE network. So, and the problem, I said that before, if you want to do IoT modems, you can be surprised because IoT modems use the CAT-ME1 and IoT stacks that are not provided in the free SRS-LTE stack. For 5G, you can use also upper air interface. So I invite you also to look at it because of the V2X thing. Issue during the test. We have plenty of devices. We have so devices that were very well protected. I mean that, well, for example, some backends just whitelist the connection. So if they whitelist the connection, if you don't have the physical access to the device, you are a little bit screwed. But you can try to perform some client attack to act like a legitimate server, and we will see in the future slides with connected cars that poisoning the client's the server's response can be fruitful because we can also attack the systems that is running on the device. Also, some devices use the mutual authentication with client source certificate, and in this specific way, we cannot do anything unless we can have physical access and try to dump the client certificate and reach the backend. So this is our issue that exists, but generally you will find a lot of devices that are using no mutual authentication that are in clear text, that communicate in clear text, and we will see that it can be very funny sometimes. The hard way. So in the hard way, with our intercom, we saw that we had some encrypted communications, and to see how the encryption works, we have to go deeper. We have to go in the hard way. So we have to look at every specific interface that we can use to maybe dump the chip, and we see that in red that there is a small interface. We don't know anything about it, but using the schema, we can see that there is some in-chip debugger interface that is used by microchip, and this is for the PIC 2024. And with that, we can buy, for example, very quickly for €8 a PIC kit 3 that we can plug, use the MPLAB X software to dump it, and after that, get the firmware. And as you can see, we are in the firmware is not encrypted. We can see a lot of AT commands, the AT commands that are used to communicate with the server. So we have ITCOPS, XTRX, and so on. So, and just by doing a strings commands, we can see a lot of commands that are used in the firmware. So you don't need any tools at the moment. But sometimes some parts of the ports, or sometimes some parts of the addresses can be missing. So you have to use, at the beginning, we didn't have the disassembler for the PIC 24. So the option was to implement engine or use the engine provided by the MPLAB. Firstly, we have used the engine to understand the code and see if the developer engine is working fine. But after that, when I didn't have time to perform to continue, and when the IDAR 7.2 was released, it was released with a dissector for the PIC 24. That was great, as well as Gidra now, which is able to disassemble it. So you can use now these tools in the PIC 24, PIC 24, sorry, to disassemble the firmware, understand it, and try to get the encryption key and algorithm. Also, hardware chips using the software provided by Microchip or by other company, the vendor of the chip. They provide you a tool that can display you the actual configurations of fuse bytes. Which is interesting is that during an audit test, you can just see that you have permission to write to a program, and you're also allowed to read the program. So that means that the vendor of the intercom didn't thought about protecting the chip with those fuse bits. So that's a shame, because the PIC 25, when using the fuse bits, is very complicated to dump. You cannot do it with glitching attacks, for example, and with those bits, I will not be able to, for example, to dump it. But in some case, for example, in ARM chips and so on, you can do some glitching attack or whatever to dump the memory. Here are some interfaces that you maybe know about how to interface with the chip. You have UART, GTAG, SPI, I2C, and so on. Those interfaces, you can interface with some subtools like Sega G-Link, BusPirate version 3, BusVoodoo, which I suggest that supports like 14 protocols, which is very, very good. You have also Hydrobus that I have with myself if someone wants to try. It's a tool that is used to interface to those interfaces, but also to perform brute force attacks against GTAG and UART interface. So it's kind of interesting because it's like a Swiss Army tool. And also for rare protocols, I mean, rare protocol like we saw not so long, we saw like three-core MCU, and they use also some raw protocol that you can only find with the Trace32 tool. But this one is a little bit expensive. It's, if ever you find a raw protocol, a very raw protocol that is not supported by these tools, maybe Trace32 will do that. So bit processing JTAG, there is a lot of methods. You have JTAG calculator that you can use, which is a little bit expensive. You have another way using the business side, which just costs €8, which is less precise than the JTAG calculator. After that, if you don't have interface to go, or if you are not able, for example, to dump the chip, if there is any flash on the PCB, you can try to unchip the flash and dump it, for example, like here with the top 48 flash, and after that dump the code and try to see if there is any information in that. Also, memory protection bypasses, it exists. So there is a lot of protection that can be bypassed. So here are some attacks that you can use. You can, for example, the more relevant could be, for example, the code bootstrapping attacks in STM32. That is very popular because a lot of devices use this chip exactly that you can, for example, attack with the code bootstrapping. There was also the Trezor wallet hack that allows you to downgrade the ADP2, the ADP2 to ADP1. You have also complicated attack like UVC attacks. So we don't use that because for us it's like too much complicated. For us, we don't have a lab to do that. So we don't know how to do that. Also, you have some methods that are interesting, like backdooring the entry points of the PIC 80 that was used on the I class key extraction on because the readers of the I class contains the key which is used to decrypt the communication, the data that are exchanged between the tag and the reader. And this attack was used to just try to first backdoor the entry point. After that, we had to attack another readers to get the block that was containing the entry point. So these are the bypasses. Now, some interesting targets. I was talking about the intercoms. Maybe it was interesting, maybe it was boring. I don't know. But there's other targets like deposit case, alarm, and connected cars. And so maybe you have played with the ODB interface and the CAN bus. And in this connected cars, there's a lot of vectors to play with. And we see that, for example, we have the Wi-Fi, we have GPRS, we have a lot of vectors we can play with. But we choose the mobile one because it's our subject. So our targets, for example, the connected car, wants us to install application, to update, to use Twitter, the Meteor, GPS, and so on. So you have crazy things on the car. And you can get all this information by trapping the connected car with the previous methods I was presenting. And with that, what was crazy, that's because I was working on not on the car's subject, but on a module which was connected to the car through the ADB2 interface. This one was using GPRS. When I was using this attack, I trapped a lot of vehicles on my base station. I was like, okay, which one is the target? I don't know. So I got really surprised that every cars, even cars using 3G and 4G were trapping in my base station. And Why? Because I was also in a parking place. So in a parking place, you don't have a lot of signal around. So every car were dropped to my fake BTS, and I was like, okay, how to see which target is it? So I also played with the cars during the test, and when playing with that, I saw that the servers couldn't be contacted by the arbitrary connection. That means that using my provider or my connection, I couldn't reach the server. So what I did is to poison the DNS or DNS queries to redirect all DNS queries to my fake server and see what happens. And I saw a lot of packets. You have application about the Meteor, application about all the application that Facebook, for example, that are communicating in clear text, which is very impressive because I didn't see any connection using the TLS. I was like, okay, back to the old time, so we can do everything we want. And well, I was also surprised because it used a very old version of Android, the 4.0.4, which is vulnerable to pretty a lot of CVEs like a JavaScript interface. You have also a lot of XTRX attacks. So with that system, we could also see that some applications were requesting XMLs, and with that we could provide an XML using some XTRX attacks and get information about the system, and also with the JavaScript interface get a RS here very easily. So there's a lot of CVEs, and this targets for me is like a CTF. You have a lot of services. You have a lot of things to attack. So if you want to do something during the night, maybe try to hack your connected car if you want. And we spotted a lot of interesting things because also maybe someone has here a connected car with API, with some API. I mean, mobile application. So with the mobile application, some mobile application can open, close the car, can also run the heater and so on. And this is used with this kind of API call. And which is interesting is that with the application, the API calls use the auth feature that is used to authenticate the user of the application to control the car, to control some things of the car. And here we don't have any of that. Just a protobuf structure that looks not encrypted. So if we are able to maybe decode that, or if there is maybe an encryption before, we can maybe try to do a fake update and do another issue. In this case, for example, because it was taken during an update. But if we are able also to see how calls are made to open a car or run the heater, we can, for example, without any authentication, try to reply the packets just by dropping the connected car to our fake base station and acting like a fake server and giving the packets, the right packets to open the car, for example. So mobile apps versus mobile cars and other things. I said that mobile apps have authentication, which is good. They use HTTPS, which is not the case with the cars and other device. And you can do a lot of interesting things just by taking this direction of trapping your device and playing with it. And this is also an interception technique that we use to intercept the car. We use like previously we just used like a very low gain antenna with our fake base station, and here we use like a long antenna to get high gain, and we were able like to trap more than 10 boards, 10 IC of the of cars, and just doing nothing, doing no mono jam attack, smart jamming attack, and so on. So also, if you are lazy and you don't want to attack with our tool, there's also a way. Just wait for the cars to go to a parking station and trap it, and after that play with these services, exposite services of the car. Yeah, 5 minutes. Thank you. Also, there's some good readings about this. We have done a blog post about it. There is also someone who are attacking the combo box in BMW. This link is very interesting. The slides will be published if you want. So don't wait the URL. You will see that. And this guy also this guy discovered the communication was encrypted between the server and the device, which is pretty good because in our case we didn't have it. So what he looks for, the keys in the algorithm used for decrypting and encrypting the communication, and he saw that from one combo box to another, the keys was the same exactly. So the same key was used to communicate with the backend to encrypt the communication. So he thought about this. He captured the communication between the server and the client, and he was able also to decrypt, but also inject packets in the air to the device or to the backends to attack the backends or the device in this link. So it was very interesting because here people from BMW just used more money to protect their solution, but they didn't have enough time or enough money to do a right architecture to be able to avoid this problem of the same shared key between our device. And this is the case for a lot of IoT devices, but you can see that these things works in cars, and you have to also be aware that those modules also communicate sometimes with the KNH bus, which is used also to inject some packets on the CAN bus. So sometimes it can be very interesting. The future. Sorry. The future.
I think the first, sorry for jumping in here with some moment of bragging. The first public talk about the BMW thing was given at Troopers Help Day 4 years ago. Dieter, the guy who did this, has been at the Help Day many times. So it has been discussed here in Heidelberg.
Okay.
Which I'm happy about. Sorry for
no problem.
That moment of
No problem. So here's also I was talking about the future because you have a lot of SDR devices that you can use, like Lime SDR, bladeRF, and so on. I was talking about the XTRX, and I promote this device because you can, for example, if you have a computer that allows you to plug this kind of MPC-E card, you are able to plug it and play with the radio stuff and so on. So in our case, it didn't cost much. It costed just 300 euro, but now we have professional version only that cost 500 euro. But it gives you something very small, very discreet, and you can use only with your laptop, for example. So here's an example also of miniaturization that I've done, but other people also have done with the APA2, where you can plug the STRX and use it with a Ubuntu system, and after that play with radio stuff. So here we are at the end. So a lot of IoT system can be managed remotely. Mobile interception techniques could be applied to all IoT devices using our tools. Now techniques are accessible. You have tools to set up a BTS station very quickly, and it's not expensive. we have provided tools to perform the jamming attacks and so on. Also, some 3G and 4G stacks are not accessible. Some devices only use the 3G ST stack, so sometimes you have to choose. You have to have a local physical access to those devices. So it's pretty finished. So also what you have to have in mind is that if you are not able, if you are able to have physical access and not able to trap the device or have some question about the communication, you always can go deeper in the hardware to dive into the firmware and see how it communicates. And thanks for Snorky, Prior Chalaka, Rachel Brassard, Trooper staff, and of course you all for because thanks to you, I'm able also to speak about it and share it. And if you want, we can also talk about it after, between few drinks or a few coffee, I don't know. But if you're interested about the subject and IoT devices, hacking and so on, I'm on this field, and I'm very interested to also share about, share the feedbacks we can have together. So thank you very much. And if you have any question, please ask. I don't know if we have.
We can allow for one question, but any questions?